The woman collapsed against Jake Morrison's cabin door like a broken bird, her dress torn and caked with desert mud. One arm clutched her ribs, blood seeping between her fingers, dark, steady, wrong. "I'll do it myself," she whispered, her voice faint against the howling desert wind. "Please, just don't look." Jake had seen his share of wounded folks in his 20 years on the frontier, gunshot wounds, knife cuts, broken bones from bucked horses. But something in her voice, the way she said, "please," like it was her last breath, made his stomach twist. He stood frozen in the doorway, hat in hand, watching her struggle to stand and fail. She was young, maybe 25, with auburn hair that caught the dying sunlight despite being matted with dust and something darker. Her dress, once blue, was now stained with blood and clay. But it wasn't the blood that held him. It was how she curled into herself, guarding something, like a wounded animal protecting its softest spot. "Ma'am, you need help," Jake said, his voice rougher than he meant. "Whatever's wrong, I've seen worse." She looked up, her pale green eyes like winter sage, alive with fear and something deeper, shame, or maybe resignation. "No," she breathed. "You haven't." The desert stretched endless around his isolated cabin, nothing but scrub brush and red rock for miles. No towns, no neighbors, no law, just Jake and his horses. And now this woman, appearing like a mirage made flesh. She'd walked here, somehow, but from where? The nearest town was 30 miles of brutal terrain that broke strong men. She tried to stand again, leaning against the cabin wall, her legs trembling like a newborn colt's. Whatever she hid under that blood-soaked dress was bad enough to make her choose death over help. "I can make it stop," she whispered, her hands shaking as she pressed the wound. "I just need somewhere quiet." The sun was sinking fast, painting the desert the color of dried blood. Night brought coyotes, killing cold, and worse things that prowled the lawless stretches. She wouldn't survive an hour alone, but her desperate refusal made Jake pause. He'd learned to read people like he read weather, and this woman wasn't just hurt, she was terrified of being seen. He had two choices: honor her wishes and let her die, or force help on someone who clearly had reasons to refuse. Neither felt right. "Look, miss. Don't." Her voice cut like broken glass. "Please, I'm begging you." She slumped further, leaving a red smear on the weathered wood. Her breathing was shallow, fast, blood loss, shock, maybe worse. But her eyes stayed locked on his, searching for something. "Mercy, maybe." "I got supplies inside," Jake said carefully. "Bandages, whiskey for cleaning wounds." "You don't have to tell me nothing. Don't have to show me nothing. But you'll die out here." She closed her eyes, and for a moment, he thought she'd fainted. Then, so quiet he almost missed it, "You'll think I'm a monster." The words hit like a punch. Whatever she carried had convinced her she was less than human, unworthy of compassion. Jake had met killers, thieves, and worse, but none looked at themselves with such revulsion. "I don't know you well enough to think anything," he said. "But dying won't fix what's eating you." A coyote howled, answered by another. The desert was waking, hungry. She opened her eyes, and something shifted, not hope, but the faintest chance it might exist. "If I let you help," she whispered, "promise me something." "Depends what." "Promise you won't tell anyone. Ever. No matter what you see." Jake studied her, reading the story in her fear. Her secret had driven her into the desert to die rather than risk exposure. That kind of shame wasn't born of ordinary wounds. "I promise," he said. Relief flooded her face, chased by fresh terror. "I don't know if I can show you." "Then tell me what to do, and I'll do it blind if need be." But even as he spoke, a chill settled in his bones. Her expression said blindness wouldn't be enough. Thunder rumbled, not a storm, but hoofbeats. Multiple riders, moving fast across hard-packed earth. Jake's blood ran cold. Out here, riders at dusk meant trouble, always. The woman heard it too, her face going white as bone. They found me, she breathed. Jake counted the hoofbeats. 4, maybe 5 horses, ridden hard but controlled. Men who knew the desert, who could track. Who found you? He asked, already pulling her inside and barring the door. Through the window, dust clouds rose against the darkening sky. Bounty hunters, she whispered. Or worse. Jake's rifle leaned by the bed, his Colt on the chair. Enough to handle 4 men if he was lucky, if they were careless. But this woman changed everything, she could barely stand, let alone run. What did you do? He asked, checking his weapons. Silence stretched so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, I lived when I should have died. The hoofbeats grew louder. Jake could make out riders now, dark shapes against the red horizon, moving with purpose. They'd tracked her here, blood drops and footprints leading to his door. There's a root cellar, Jake said. Under the floorboards by the stove. You can hide. No, her voice was sharp. I'm tired of hiding. She tried to stand, swayed, and caught herself on the table. Blood soaked her dress, spreading dark across the faded blue. Whatever her wound, it was killing her slow. They'll take me back, she said. Do things worse than death. Jake had heard of bounty hunters who didn't care if their quarry arrived alive or dead, or in what condition. Some had reputations that made decent folks flinch. The riders were close now, he heard leather creaking, spurs jingling, men murmuring strategy. They'd surround the cabin, cut off escape, then demand their prize. Listen, Jake said, moving to the window. I don't know what you've done, but no woman deserves to be dragged to something worse than death. Her pale eyes met his, gratitude flickering faintly. You don't understand, she whispered. When you see what I am, you'll want to hand me over. The hoofbeats stopped. Silence fell, heavy with her labored breathing and Jake's pounding heart. A voice called out, rough and confident, Morrison, we know she's in there. Send her out, and nobody gets hurt. Jake didn't answer. Instead, he turned to her. What's your name? Clara, she said, like a confession. Clara Whitman. Well, Clara Whitman, I got a choice. Open that door and let them take you, or tell them to go to hell. But first, I need to know. Are you a killer? Yes. Her honesty hit harder than any lie. My husband, his brother, and the sheriff who helped them. Boots scraped outside. The bounty hunters were circling, patient as wolves. They hurt you? Jake asked, already knowing. Her hand drifted from her ribs to her stomach, and Jake's gut twisted with understanding. Every night for 3 years, she whispered, until I couldn't take it anymore. It all clicked, desperate violence born of endless torment, men calling it murder instead of justice. How many out there? He asked. 5, last I counted. Led by a man named Pike. He's got papers saying I'm worth more alive. She shuddered. But Pike don't care about papers. Jake knew of Pike, a bounty hunter who took his time with female quarry. The kind of man who made Jake's skin crawl. Morrison. Pike's voice was closer now. Sun's down. We ain't waiting. Jake made his choice. He took Clara's trembling hands. I need to see the wound. If I'm helping you, I need to know how bad it is. Terror flashed in her eyes. I'll what? Think less of you. Clara, you killed 3 men who tortured you. That makes you a survivor, not a monster. For the first time, she looked at him like he wasn't a threat. Slowly, she lifted her dress. What Jake saw made his blood run cold, not with horror, but with rage. Below her ribs was no ordinary wound. A brand, Whitman, marked her as property, surrounded by dozens of scars, years of deliberate cruelty carved into her skin. Jesus, he breathed. Now you know, Clara whispered, covering herself. Why I can't go back. Jake's face hardened. He threw open the door and stepped outside. 5 men sat their horses in a semicircle, rifles ready. Pike, with his cruel smile and dead fish eyes, was unmistakable. She's not here, Jake said. Pike laughed. Blood trail says otherwise. Leads right to your door. Could be anything. Cut myself skinning a rabbit. Show us your hands. Jake held them up, clean. Pike's smile widened. Nice try. We got a witness saw her heading this way. Tracker says she made it here. Then she moved on, bleeding out. Nah, Pike dismounted, his men following. She's inside, and we're getting her. Jake's hand dropped to his Colt. Not happening. The desert went still. You know the law, Pike said. She killed 3 men. Got a price on her head. I know what they did to her, Jake said. And what you plan to do. Pike's mask slipped, revealing the predator. What happens to my prisoner ain't your concern. This is my land, Jake said. My rules. Clara Whitman stays. The gunfight was quick and brutal. Jake had cover and fury on his side. When the dust settled, 5 men lay dead, and Jake stood alone under the stars. Inside, Clara had collapsed, blood loss taking its toll, but her pulse held steady. She'd live. Jake spent the night cleaning her wounds, stitching what needed stitching, and burning Pike's papers. Come morning, he buried the bodies in unmarked graves, never to speak of them again. Clara woke 3 days later in Jake's shirt, her wounds bandaged, weak but alive. The bounty hunters, she asked. Gone, Jake said. Won't be back. She studied him, reading truth in his weathered face. Why? Some things are worth fighting for. Some people deserve a second chance. Years later, the Morrison Ranch became legend, a place where Jake and his mysterious wife, Clara, raised horses and children, never speaking of the past. Clara was known as the kindest woman in 3 counties, always ready with a meal or medicine. No one knew of the 5 graves hidden in the desert wash, or the night Clara chose life over death. But sometimes, on quiet nights when the stars burned bright, the wind seemed to carry an old promise: some secrets are worth keeping, and some choices, no matter how hard, are always right. The Morrison Ranch stood for 40 years, a monument to redemption built from the ashes of pain.